Hello and welcome listeners to Through the Sightglass, the podcast that dives deep into the fascinating world of craft beer and celebrates the incredible individuals who shape its vibrant landscape. Join us on a journey where we explore the nuances of this amazing industry and the remarkable people who contribute to its richness and diversity. Cheers.
Cheers.
Welcome everyone to a very special podcast. We wanted to introduce ourselves a little bit more. We've done about 20 podcasts so far. And we wanted to give y'all a little bit of insight into Austin and myself and who we are and how we got here and what our journey is. So I'll kick it off. My name is Julie Davis. I am one of the co-founders of Through the Sightglass. And I don't even know what else to say.
No, that's perfect. My name's Austin Davis. I'm the
Yes.
other co-founder of Through the Sightglass. We realized after, she said, doing 20-plus episodes, we hadn't really introduced ourselves or kind of how we got to this point. It's on our website, and I think that's where we just assumed people would go, but it would probably be good for this format for our listeners to know a little bit about our backstory and why we're traveling around the United States and soon to be the world, interviewing people and their stories about why they started.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We're just going to follow the same format that we usually do. So, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first.
Okay. So where'd you grow up? Where do you call hometown?
I grew up in Amarillo, Texas, and lived there for my entire childhood until I went off to college. I went to Abilene Christian University in Abilene, Texas, scratch 'em cats. And I got my degree in exercise science and a minor in nutrition. I thought I wanted to work for Nike and design tennis shoes. My family, growing up, that's usually a question we ask. I'm one of 4 siblings, the younger of the middle children, so I'm number 3 out of 4. Older sister, older brother, younger brother. We're all very close. My family, we still always get together. That's why we're here in Oklahoma City. We're actually sitting in the Logger Lounge at Stone Cloud in Oklahoma City. Thank you so much for letting us sit here in your amazing space and do our little podcast.
It's beautiful, and we have our favorite sister-in-law shooting
Yes.
photos, so there will also be photos. If you're in Oklahoma City or you're looking to do an event, please, we recommend this.
Yeah.
Great beer, great environment.
Yeah, for sure.
Check it out.
Yeah. So that's why we're here in Oklahoma City, is actually because that's where my family lives now. We're still very close. We came here for a family wedding. And growing up, mom was a teacher, dad engineer. So we were very hands-on for everything. There was always a learning opportunity.
You guys like to troubleshoot and
Love
question and
to
explore.
troubleshoot. Yeah. So, yeah. It was a great childhood. Grew up in Amarillo. It's hot, flat.
How do you like the heat?
I don't. That's why I moved. But we'll skip over to you because I'm at my college phase. So why don't we hear about your growing up and then post-high school?
Yeah. So I grew up in Purdy, Washington. We finally found somebody else who grew up in Purdy as well. Shout out to Abe at Ilk Beer. But yeah, so I'm one of original three siblings. So I'm the middle. Tanner is my older brother. Taylor's my younger brother. But grew up right across from the Purdy Spit, local boys market down there. And eventually Parrots split and went and did their own thing, but we moved in towards Gig Harbor. And then that's where I spent most of my, elementary, middle school, high school. Was really into art, really into theater. My dad remarried, and so did my mom. Blended families grew quite a bit, but the most continuous family unit I had was, one of what eventually would be 7 siblings. Growing up, though, my dad was a lawyer. My mom worked as an administrative assistant and administrations manager at Multicare for a long time, and now does contract project management for hospitals. My dad,
She's my hero, by the way.
yeah, my mom's pretty awesome. Biggest superhero, biggest role model. My dad still practices law on the side for the state, but also became sort of a handyman, and so would delve into that as well. But a lot of my inspirations, I'm definitely the more artistic one. I did theater into high school. I did choir, and then kind of leaving high school, didn't really have an idea of what I wanted to do. So I did community college, and that was actually kind of where my craft beer journey kind of started. Yeah, mostly just the siblings in my family, and even the parental figures in my family, a lot of the inspiration I just gained from them was hard work, determination, and perseverance for whatever you applied yourself at.
It shows. Very, very passionate. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
It definitely sometimes needs some reining in.
Yeah.
I have to remind myself that maybe people don't believe the same amount of percentage as I do, or put in the same amount of percentage as I do, and that's okay. That's totally fine.
It's totally fine.
And also, it can make introverted people really uncomfortable.
Yes,
As an
it can.
extrovert, I know
Which
that very well.
Yeah, for sure. So after you went to community college, what was your first craft beer experience or first beer experience, would you say?
So surprisingly enough, I didn't party in high school. I grew up Mormon. Forgot to state that as well. So we didn't party, just kind of took care of ourselves and made sure we weren't getting in trouble. So when I went off to community college, I still was very new into any bit of like the party scene.
Yeah.
I ended up having some awesome roommates. Shout out to Alan, Marie, and Robbie. When I moved from high school, moved down to Portland, and got this house and was going to Portland Community College in Tigard, they would bring home beer. And I was introduced to craft beer at one of their parties that they held. It was a Rogue Dead Guy Ale. And I'll never forget, Alan was like, hey, if you give me $1, I'll give you a beer. And I remember thinking that, I'm 19 years old. I've never drank in my life. There's nobody, there's no way that this party's going to get busted or I'm going to get in trouble. So I paid him $1. He gave me a very warm Rogue Dead Guy Ale. Needless to say, it was bitter. It was pretty disgusting. But it made me curious. And then, fun fact, that party did get busted by the cops, and I was so freaked out, I jumped over the chain link fence and ran into the woods, not realizing that the cops were literally just saying, turn it down. So, but that was my first experience. And then as they lived with us, they would always go to Winco and get Bridgeport Brewing. So there was beers like Kingpin Red, their Christmas seasonal, I forget the name, Hop Czar, just very typical. It was like $4.49 a 6-pack. So just kind of whatever they brought home, I was able to like experiment
still had to pay
with.
Alan $1.
Yeah, still had to pay. Yeah. Definitely, Alan made sure that you were not able to snag a beer from the fridge without paying for it. So it was either the Bridgeport craft brewing beer in the fridge, or it was Marie's Hornsby's, which is like a super sweet cider. But that I definitely drank my fair share of those too. But that would have been my first intro, and I didn't even realize because I wasn't interested in beer at all. But kind of going from 19 to 20 and then even getting closer to 21, and that's when I left Oregon. I didn't realize all these breweries. And I even had some friends that worked in breweries at the time. For a while, Rogue would hire like seasonal summer interns to basically like scrape out their huge mash tons or help not necessarily like do the cleaning process, but just general cleaning and help around the warehouse and around the brewery. And then they were like, well, if you do well and you have an interest, it usually was you started in the warehouse, and then once you turned 21, you could go into the actual facility. So, it wasn't until I left Oregon that I realized
that you were in the mecca of craft beer.
Yeah, I kind of like squandered, but that's okay, because then that's when I got back to my hometown, Purdy, Gig Harbor area, that's where I became definitely more vested into it and spent more time into it. So now to you.
Yeah.
So
I left
Abilene Christian University.
Yeah, we did not really drink at all. I know that people did drink. I think we had some wine every once in a while, like
boxed or bottled.
We did the barefoot bottled wine.
Oh yeah.
So I lived in a mansion. Well, it's not actually a mansion, but it was a big house. Had 6 bedrooms. There was 7 of us girls. We still have a group chat, and we do a book club now. Even to this day, it's been we've lived together. We had lived together for most of college. Anyways, my mansion girls is what I call them. And I remember our last night living in the house. We lived in the house for 2 years together, all 7 of us. I say that the only way that we made it through was because we had 4 bathrooms. That's the only reason we made it through.
That's probably accurate.
Yeah. But yeah, we, on our last night in the house, we split one of those huge bottles of Barefoot Moscato.
Oh, nice. Something super sweet.
The 7 of us split it, and we rinsed it out. And while we were drinking, we were sitting around our dining room table that we do all the time, and we made a time capsule. And so we
Oh,
used
nice.
that barefoot bottle and shoved it full of notes and all.
Dreams,
It
wishes,
was,
people you want to murder.
no, it was all like memories, but then also predictions too. And we actually busted it open. That was 2022 is when we busted it open.
2 years ago.
Yeah, we all got back together, all 7 of us, and read through them. We were a little bit nervous of what we would find, but we had a great time. So Moscato, like we really didn't drink at all. So from Abilene, I graduated and ended up moving to Nashville. My older sister and brother-in-law were living there, and we had some family friends there, and I had some family there. So I ended up moving there, not knowing what I wanted to do. Got a corporate job, was doing corporate management. And I was living with some friends that had moved in to town, and some of the guys would go to this it was called Craft Brewed in Nashville. They would go there all the time, and I never
Is that a homebrew shop or?
It's a bottle shop, but what I remember is more taps than what I would say bottle shop now, but they have since grown. So now it's like a bottle shop, and on the other side, I think they do wine and some hard liquor. I think maybe just whiskey. I'm not exactly sure, but I know they expanded on the other side. But they're still there. I've taken you there before.
Yeah.
So I remember they would always go, and I never really drink anything. I think if they had any non-alcoholic stuff, or because they really didn't have wine there at the time.
Yeah, probably wine and like cider still wasn't a big thing to have on tap.
I have no idea I would just go hang out with everyone there because there was a big patio and stuff. And the bartender, like I would call a beer tender now, always was giving me samples of trying to find out what I liked. And
trying to hook you.
Yeah, he did. I remember I told him I liked chocolate and coffee, and he got a Dunkel. It was Shotgun Wedding by, I can't remember the name of the brewery. It's in Kentucky, like Country Boy, Shotgun Wedding maybe.
I think Country Boy Brewing is, I don't know if it's in Kentucky. I've definitely seen
Something
the name.
like that.
I think when we've been there, you've seen the beer before.
Yeah, Shotgun Wedding is a Dunkel, and I loved it. And so I got a growler, and that's what I would drink. And the guy had my number, and every time it came in, he would call me, and he'd have one ready for me, all stuff. I think he wanted a little bit more, but,
That's just
sorry.
good salesman right there.
Yeah, so I started out with that, and then I went straight stouts. Straight, anything dark.
Dark, roasty, chocolatey, sometimes sweet.
Because I still would drink more red wine and whiskey at that time. Like, I wouldn't necessarily go buy, like, a six-pack of something, but...
Okay.
Started traveling. I moved to St. Louis, and then I started drinking a lot of left hand nitro stouts as well. So, so just was really into the dark beer. Still drank more wine, but really enjoyed the dark beer. And then quit my corporate job and traveled for a while, and then ended up in Tacoma. And that's where we met, and we can tell our story.
Yeah, that's where it kicks off with both of us. But so when I had moved back from Oregon back up to Washington, again, dropped out of community college, was just working, serving jobs. And that was the nice thing, is at least when you're in your early 20s, I was like 20, just about to turn 21, serving jobs are nice because you have tips. It's not nearly necessarily, for me, it wasn't a job I wanted to do for forever, but all that tip money gave me freedom to do the two things that I had found that I really, really enjoyed. One, learning about craft beer. All that stuff that I experienced in Oregon made me really interested in craft beer, so I looked for it in the surrounding areas of Tacoma and Seattle, Bremerton, so forth. And then hiking.
It was so hard to find.
Hard to find. Yeah. Horrible. And then hiking. I was already a big runner at the time, so hiking just fit naturally. I loved getting out into nature. And so when I moved back, I was serving and decided that at 21, I was like, okay, I should probably look at something that I want to do for a career. Kind of felt a little bit lost in life, and so I was like, you know what? I'll apply at REI, and then I have a brewery in my hometown, Gig Harbor, called Seven Seas Brewing, and they had been open for a while. I think this was like 2014, 2015, and they had been open for a while. So I just applied to both places and was just wanting to see what I could get my foot into. I actually got a job at both, but that's what led me into eventually choosing just craft beer, as I worked both those jobs for a while and said, I like doing beer more than REI, hiking, kind of a more corporate route. definitely you could say is more safe and more sustainable in some aspects, but
Who needs safe and sustainable when you have passion?
exactly. Passion and community. There's just a never-ending amount of people to come and support you. But so that was my decision. At 23, I said, you know what, I'm gonna just stick with craft beer. So that's when I just started working Seven Seas more full time, and that's where we met. I had been working at Seven Seas for about 3.5 years. So my tenure from 2015 to 2018. Started off as keg washing, and then eventually just helped out with just a lot of the packaging, warehousing, keg
Canning.
filling, cleaning,
Kegs.
just a lot of very typical job. If you don't go to Siebel, when you get into a brewery, you do a lot of the grunt position work, and then kind of as your reward, and also to help supplement if they can't put you on salary, is you just learn more skills to make your skill set better and more wide for you to get better jobs, maybe in the future, or be more valuable to the company. But that is where we met. In between me going between my craft beer bar, Pint Defiance, I was also serving at a brewery called Narrows Brewing, and then
We've already posted that podcast.
We have. Go listen to it. But also, essentially being the production manager, we were getting a new taproom manager, and this girl with long black hair walked in, dressed all in black. And it was August at the time, or July.
Yeah, I think it was August.
Yeah, I still thought it was crazy because being in the Northwest, not a whole lot of people wear black all the time, especially when for us it's like in summer and kind of hot. So I'm like, okay.
I'm wearing all black right now.
You are.
The only thing that's not black are usually my nails, and they're not black right now.
Yeah, but so this gal walks in. And Shannon, who kind of oversees both tap rooms, basically runs all front of house, introduced us briefly. And then you went right upstairs, and this is us when we were in the Heidelberg building. So you had to go up 2 flights of stairs.
There's this cute guy that was singing really loud.
That's adorable. You couldn't smell me. You definitely could not. I was probably so sweaty.
I'm pretty sure the shirt that you were wearing, I think we still have it. I still wear it. That maroon one?
Yeah, that Red Solomon one.
Yeah. I remember your like Carhartts and stuff like that. I remember you were like super cute and energetic and just
running probably off of 3,000 milligrams of caffeine. Shout out to Valhalla being in our building. You saved us brewers more times than we can count with just keeping us awake. Yes, and those taproom managers.
Yeah, so we started dating. At some point in time, we kept it secret from everyone at the taproom as much as possible, I think.
We just started to kind of see each other. You had just moved here.
Yeah.
And so growing up here kind of all my life, I hadn't really thought about dating or being serious about dating, having gotten out of some relationships over the past few years.
Same.
So I was just like, oh, cool. This is a person not from Washington State.
I have a little twang.
Yeah, you do have a little drawl.
Some freckles.
Yeah. So I thought, what better way to get to know this person than just kind of hang out with her? And then the bonus, you were a taproom manager who didn't know anything about beer.
I knew that there were different styles. I knew, there was the lighter and the darker. I knew I liked the darker, the stouts.
Yeah, I shouldn't say you didn't know anything about beer, but
I knew minimal amount. My first day on the job as the manager, I remember they taught me how to pour it. Because I'd poured beer before, but I'd never poured it off of a tap.
Yeah.
So they taught me how to do that. So I would go over to Narrows, where you were working, and learn beer styles, and you would quiz me on stuff. And you would, give me samples and ask me what I thought it was. And
it definitely was for an educational purpose. I also wanted to spend more time with you.
I did too, but I also did learn a lot. So...
Yeah, no, so I think it worked out for both our benefits. I got to learn more about you and kind of where you came from and
I got you
how
some
you
more
grew
tips.
Up. You definitely got me more tips. There's nothing better than a pretty girl at a bar to have a bunch of sailors spend more time to drink more beer to then tip me a little bit better.
Yeah.
So
then we got more serious, and you got let go from Seven Seas, and I was still working there. I'd been working on getting my PMP certification at the time as well, so I wanted to do more than just taproom management. So then once you got let go, I'll let you tell that story, but I was still finishing up my PMP and looking to what was next, and ended up, you had moved to Portland, and I moved as well.
Yeah.
All right. So you had been let go from Seven Seas, and where did you start working next?
So from Seven Seas, spent 3.5 years there, went to Freem. Got hired at Freem 2019. Well, it was kind of like 2018, 2019. It was right at that December, January mark.
Yeah.
But so got hired on at Frame to do packaging. They were getting a canning line. Shout out, woo woo. But yeah, so went to Frame, worked there as a packaging lead. Awesome team, great environment, really fast paced. Going from a brewery that capped out, I think we capped out at like 9,000 barrels one of the years I was there, to a brewery that was pushing at that time, going from like 15,000 projected to do 20,000 in the next 2 years.
Yeah.
Was a huge ramp up, but was really good. Yeah, and so moved down to work at Freeman Hood River, and you were still working on your on your PMP.
Yeah, so I was still working. I'd moved in with you, and we had started commuting, and I was working remotely to get my PMP, and you were working at Freem, and I think we just kind of were just head to the grindstone, just trying to get through, and that's when we had been talking about a little bit about living in a van. And I remember you were trying to convince me that living in a van was a good idea. And being from Texas, I was like, no, run the other way. And then you showed me some videos of what van life looked like. And I just come off from a year of travel and really wanted to do more traveling. And so I wanted to find a way that was sustainable for that. So van life really sparked that idea for us that we could travel. And I had wanted to work remote because I wanted to travel more. And so I think you and I just decided that van life was something that we wanted to do next, and just tried to figure out a way to do it. And so just worked towards buying a van and got engaged.
Yep, just started kind of speed running a bunch of things as we were gearing up to kind of do the next stage in our life. At this time, too, so funny to talk about the van. When she had met me, I was living in Tacoma, and I was trying to find a way to mitigate rent because I didn't want to buy a house. And I was looking at like tiny homes and what I could do. And that would have been right around when I started looking at these ideas was like 2016. When you moved to Tacoma in 2018, and we started talking about it. I started showing you like some of the favorite creators because van life started to become more popularized on the internet. I know it's probably been around for a long time, so it's not.
They didn't call it van life back then.
Yeah, vagabonding or whatever. So it's not to put down anybody that had been doing it longer before the internet kind of took it by storm, but people like Trent Nally and Eamon and Beck were the people because they were converting vans and living out of them and traveling full time. And I think I sent you a Trent Nally video about their ProMaster.
When I saw you could have a toilet, a shower, a stove, oven, sink,
yeah, like a tiny house, yeah.
In a van, that's when I was sold. Because I was like, that's all I need. I don't need much more than that. As long as I can do my work and we can eat and sleep, like we could travel wherever we wanted.
And it definitely was becoming more realistic for me because when I started work at Freem, I still lived in Tacoma. So I car camped in my Kia Soul 4 days out of the week for my 410s and then would drive back home to spend time with you and be back at the house and kind of re-up on supplies. So sleeping in a Kia Soul with a sleeping bag and a Nintendo Switch and like some snacks, just kind of going to work, I realized how nice it would be even just to have 60 square feet that has everything in it. But thank you to Dave and Emily, and they had that house that definitely gave me lodging on their sofa when the nights were cold and I was frozen out of my car.
Yeah. But so COVID hit, and we had already bought the van. We got engaged. Yeah,
we bought the van start of 2020. Got engaged March of 2020 on Friday the 13th, which is pretty fucking awesome. And then the following week is when I got an email from Freem that basically stated, we're burning a week of your PTO while we figure out and shift and adjust, which a lot of businesses were doing. And then the world shut down.
Yeah, the world shut down. We were kind of frozen for, like, we would work a little bit on the van because we had some supplies, but we really didn't know what was going on. And
yeah, the money was just an issue because everybody was filing for unemployment because the government was rolling things out. I remember when we were filing for unemployment, there was I felt like 100,000 people, and it probably was, or maybe more than that, like were filing almost every single week in the state of Oregon. It was just nuts.
Yeah. So once you got unemployment, I kept on filing, but I hadn't received it yet. We decided to move the van because we had sold your car. We still had my car, but we took the van and everything we owned, which wasn't much, and came down here to Oklahoma to actually build out the van here in Oklahoma. And that's how we stumbled upon Stone Cloud. And we came here probably almost every day, I think, during COVID while we were building out the van, because it was June, July that we were here, and it was so hot. It was in the hundreds for sure.
Hot, muggy. A kid from the Northwest who's never spent a long time in humidity. I was getting zapped like every single day, just right around like 1 or 2 o'clock when it got the hottest.
Right.
Ugh.
We would either sit in our trash cans full of water because we didn't have a pool and the pool wasn't open, and drink beer that we had bought from somewhere, or we would come to Stone Cloud if they were open and we would play cards. And that's, honestly, we came to Stone Cloud.
Became a gathering place for us.
Yeah, just for us and my brother, and we've since brought other family here, and we just really love Stone Cloud and the beer and everything. And they didn't open the Lager Lounge yet.
No, it's just their first tap room. But the
So
quality of beer and the variety of flavors was so good, from seltzers to hazy
I
IPAs.
remember that seltzer.
My dad
has a boat. If you're listening to this, Stone Cloud, please bring that back. It was amazing.
It was an 8% mojito inspired seltzer.
And it was amazing.
in a tall boy, in a pipe can.
It's perfect.
It was awesome and dangerous when it's so hot out, because that mint, it just tasted so good. It just go right down.
It was amazing.
Yeah, it was perfect.
So we spent our days building the van, playing gin rumming with my brother, and drinking beer and trying to stay cool.
Yeah.
We have since celebrated 4 years of van life.
Yeah, living and working in the van, bouncing around.
Yeah.
When we got done, we finished the van like end of July, start of August. And so that's when we decided that we were going to start to travel and see some friends. We had friends in Georgia. We had friends in Lubbock, Texas. We had friends in St. Louis. And we wanted to go to places like Vermont, and we wanted to go to places like New England and, the Maine and Boston area. And so, but when we started traveling, and I was still looking for breweries to work at, we kind of talked about how could we make kind of craft beer and blend the idea of what we both loved and had a passion for, but how do we make that more mobile? A lot of my skills have to be very on-site, which was a challenge, but over the years, that's kind of how we came up with this project. So once we finished the van, we traveled for a bit, then we landed back in Astoria, where I worked at Fort George for a little over a year. And then we kind of were in this pattern of we work for a while, and then we travel, work for a while, and then travel to kind of help, I think, with our work-life balance and give us a new perspective. But that's where we started to talk about and formed Through the Sightglass.
Do you remember where we
were at Peaks and Pints?
Yeah.
And we were talking about this idea of kind of like a pseudo consulting firm that deals with social media and marketing, as well as helping with the production aspect and brewing aspect in a brewery, kind of offering, like many people that work in this industry, you wear many hats and you have many skill sets and tools, offering that to any brewery or business that might find use of it. And yes, we were sitting at Peaks and Pints in Tacoma having lunch. And as soon as we said that we were going to do this, you registered the domain name and got the LLC going, and I just started ordering podcast equipment because we had talked about doing a podcast.
Yeah.
And that was 2021?
Yeah, 2021.
Yep.
Because then right after that, we went traveling, and we were in the East Coast. And I think that's where we, finally, we'd gotten the podcast equipment before we left, and then we registered the LLC later on that year.
And we did a little work sabbatical. Yeah. We visited friends once again, but traveled to the East Coast, traveled to Stowe.
And all we were doing were hitting either friends, family, breweries, or hikes.
Yeah.
So
We did spend a short stint in Utah. I almost forgot about that. We did like Zion National Park and Salt Lake City. Shout out to Temple and Family Brewing, some of the best lager beer on the West Coast.
Yeah, so we were hitting all these not podcasts now, but we were hitting all these breweries, and we're like, okay, so consulting, we travel in a van, like what is this idea? And I had tossed around us doing a podcast when we were building out the van, so we revisited that after you had worked some time back in Portland at Steeplejack and then Belmont Station as well, and we were really just trying to find something where we could continue to travel. But also when we're going to these breweries and these places, we could also like have some work because I think both of us need work and enjoy it. And so we didn't want to vlog with van life. There's a lot of vloggers nowadays, and we didn't really necessarily want to do that. So we decided that we would do a podcast. And so that's where the podcast idea coupled with the consulting really came about of we could do consulting if we needed to along the way. We could be in places for a month, 2-3 months to really help someplace, really build their business, find efficiencies, different things like that. But we'd also podcast along the way. So there's a lot of breweries nowadays, especially these small craft breweries that are here, far in between places that need some support. And I think for us, we wanted to have kind of a hub of us going to visit places and not only just talk to the people, but be able to let the people in the area know like what they're doing, what they're about, where did they come from. And so that's really what spawned this idea for the podcast of really just a storytelling connection for the people who are running the small business here as a craft brewery, and then the people in the community. And then when people are traveling, like they know kind of what's going on at that place, and they can see some pictures of the tap room or the brewery, or know what types of beer they're doing, and just really fill that profile out for them and give them more opportunity to reach more people. I think a lot of small businesses can struggle right now with the economy, so I think we just wanted to, as we're traveling, be able to help support and bring light to people who are doing great things and really just help them out.
It's been harder and harder for smaller businesses to kind of share their story, and usually it gets told by the bartender, and sometimes that bartender is the brewery owner or it is an owner, and they get to kind of tell you the cool little niches or the fun little facts that happen that the rest of the public doesn't see. But that is, I think we recognize like the value in that, and that's why it's bringing these stories and sharing them with the community where people can say like, I remember that, or I was a part of that, or it might interest somebody and be like, oh, I heard this about Fair Isle that had the mailbox that was in their building wall, and when they were stripping it down for their tap room, they found this mailbox for Madame Argyle, and she was selling begonias way back in the day. To
Germany, or like shipping them in for Germany.
Yeah, she was shipping. I don't want to mess it up, but she was shipping them from somewhere else and then selling them here in the United States. And like that's cool. It provides
stories.
History. It provides something that like ties it to a state of place. And I think that's what Julie and I have loved is the people here in this industry run the whole spectrum, and they're so amazing. They're so wonderful. It's so colorful, creative, and yeah. So I think, just like what you were saying, we were kind of getting to a point where we were wanting to have a little more inspiration and I think perspective change and a shift from what we had been doing for a while. Because at this point, now that we're podcasting, you've been doing corporate and project management for 10 plus years. I've been working in breweries for 10 to 11 years. So I think we're just wanting a little bit of a shift and change. And so
and help support. It's been amazing being able to help support the places that we're going anyways, like having some added value for them and us. I think it's been a win-win situation, and having some social media and the podcast itself. So just wanting to give insight to the breweries that you're going to all the time, and to connect with the community, I think is really our goal. And it really says it in our intro. There's so many incredible people. I can't talk more highly about all the people that we've already talked to. So I think we've posted almost 20 podcasts, and we've recorded over 20. We're coming up on 30 podcasts that we recorded, not only in Washington, Oregon, but we've been to Texas, Oklahoma. we're soon kicking out to St.
St.
Louis
and Vermont.
we'll go North Carolina, and then we'll go on the East Coast, Vermont, and from there. So I think just really opening up the community for craft beer is something that we've always enjoyed, and that's why we continue to go to craft beer places and tap rooms and connect with those people, is because of the community. So we just wanted to continue to open that up and share their stories.
Yeah, and also get their recommendations for food. There's nothing better than locals who give you recommendations for food. So
for sure,
thank you for everybody that does so. And if you have some, please send us some, because we do not mind eating.
Yes, for sure. Yeah.
I think that's pretty much.
Do you think we should talk about anything else?
Other than we appreciate everybody who's listening and new listeners coming in. Appreciate all of your support. Again, we just do this because we love it. We love this industry. We love this community. And we're just trying to make it a better place one day at a time, one step at a time.
Definitely.
Yeah. I think that's it, Jay. Yeah, follow us along. If you don't follow us, Through the Sightglass at Instagram, it's through THRU. The Sightglass is our Instagram handle. It's a black and white hop eye logo that our awesome friend Casey designed.
Yeah. We're looking to get some merch and stuff soon. I think it'd be some really sick merch. We've gotten some ideas from a couple places, and
yeah, we'll be having merch out soon.
Yeah, stickers and hats.
But yeah, if you're interested in our van kind of adventures, we do have one called, is it Milo and Echo still?
Right now it's Milo and Echo. I'll probably change it soon. So we got a second cat, so we'll probably change it to Echo and Ollie.
For any cat people out there,
cat people
wanting to take their cats outside, we have 2 cats.
Yes.
They are harness trained. One is 3, one is 4 months old, and we take them everywhere that we possibly can.
Pretty sure Echo's been to more craft breweries in the U.S. than some humans.
Yeah. But that's also, that's another thing that people always seem to find if they find our Instagram is, oh, you travel with cats. What's that like? So we have some tips and tricks if you need some help.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
Thank
y'all for listening.
Thank you all for listening. Continue to, please. We'll keep doing this.
Yes. If you have any recommendations, please provide us some feedback. We love it. We haven't gotten any yet.
Yeah. No, just please, again, places to eat. We're all about finding places to eat and, places to drink.
Yeah, for sure. If you have any recommendations for some craft beer locations that you want us to check out, let us know.
Okay.
Cheers, friends.
Cheers.